lot of different things we do there. At the lake site, we also have a really expensive probe that allows us to measure like dissolved oxygen content, pH, reflectivity, temperature, etc. So there's a lot of different data that we can gather doing all these things. I do the lake sampling twice a month or every 2 weeks, primarily to really monitor the cyanobacteria, or the blue-green algae is what that refers to. Also, as Ann said, categorically the Cheyenne River is impaired. As we finish the assessment, there's some different things we can determine on what type of maximum loads for whether it's nutrients that we could sustain to get levels back to where they need to be. I included a little bit of summary, and I won't read it, but some of the highlights I would say is that we have some level of positive trends in sedimentation and some nutrient management. And what I would deduce over the years from, I included in the next page some data from the late 90s up until now, and you can see, especially with phosphorus and sedimentation, that bottom one, there is some level of some positive trends, but it's still at the level of impairment. Now, the positive trends, I would deduce that that is because a lot of egg producers in the area along the river are being really good stewards of the land. As we've gone from the 90s to now, things like reduced tillage, no-till, nutrient management, conservation practices have become more common. They're probably indicative of those levels starting to trend down, which is a good thing. That helps our water. But the thing is that the levels are still at the point of impairment, often triple the amount of what we desire in our water for nutrients. Another problem, especially at the end of the reservoir where flow really stops towards that spillway, is that we've already had 60 years of sedimentation, so there's feet of just muck sediment that's at the bottom there, which causes a lot of other problems, notably a oxygen-killing bacteria that sits at the bottom. When that blue-green algae dies in the fall, a lot of bacteria at the bottom eats a lot of that oxygen up at the sediment layer, which causes a lot of different problems. So positive trends are good, but there's still some work that needs to be done, and probably some level of consequential action if we were to make a real difference in restoring the reservoir as a regular recreational resource for the county. Like I said, on that next page, again, there's tons and tons of nutrients in that sample that we get, but the main things that I touched on were nitrogen, phosphorus, and total suspended solids. Those nitrogen and phosphorus are your two main ones for vegetative growth, and notably the blue-green algae. Having excess nutrients allows those things to be fed, especially in stagnant water. I showed the targets there on top too of what we're looking for, and you'll notice with nitrogen or phosphorus is that we're well above the impairment line.
Where this is too, this is just one site.
So yes, you'll see here that this is the only site that's been here since the 90s. Many of the sites I sample from are relatively new. This is down by the air hangar on the way to Kenny Shields' house, where that service station is down the hill. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, right past Monte Canoes.
Below Monte Canoes.
Yep, right there.
Yeah, down to the bottom.
So they've been sampling there for a long time. So for the trending there from the 90s, that's the site that I'm referencing here. So again, positive trends, but we're still at a point to where more work needs to be done. On the next page, though, I showed a little bit different of an exercise. This is all of the 5 different stream sampling sites for the year 2024, and showing how nutrients and sedimentation change as I sampled along the river going downstream. So that starts at the really the border of Lone Trees, where Lone Tree ends, exiting Lone Tree, and I end just east of Wellsburg. It'd be 3 miles east of Wellsburg is where my last site is. So you can see there's actually some interesting data there on the nutrients. Generally, you're seeing a slight decline as you go downstream, which is what I would say is good. Sedimentation, I think, is that anomaly there with the tributary to the Harvey Dam. That's right by Chad Remke's shop in town, out of the Centennial Park. There's not a lot of water flow there, so that's a pretty good explanation to why there wouldn't be a whole lot of sediment collected there. It's sediment, so all that would settle to the bottom. So, but and same with the Wellsburg, you generally have a lot less flow in that area, so there's a lot less stuff being kicked up when I sampled. But ultimately, I just wanted to show some data. We have another season of sampling this year that I'll continue to do. Ultimately, my biggest top view that I get from this is that have some positive trends. Our waterways are still categorically impaired and need some work, and that takes collaboration from lots of different stakeholders. And once the assessment phase is complete and we were to consider implementation, that's going to be a decision for a large group of stakeholders in the area to kind of decide on together. But yeah, like you said, a lot of people are really interested in this. Like if I'm on the reservoir or whatever and people drive by, a lot of people kind of stop and say, what the heck are you doing? I have to explain what I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, we had kind of an anomaly year with some good rainfall. We had above average rainfall and some other things that kept the river moving. So it was the first year in probably 5 or 6 years at least that we didn't have any blue-green algae all year. Weren't even in an advisory state. If we have more of a normal year with less rainfall and reservoir turnover, I wouldn't think that that would happen again, just given this circumstances. But that was good, and we'll keep monitoring it. But ultimately, yeah, it's kind of a fun project. It's certainly interesting, and see where we can go from here once the assessment is complete.
So due to the fact that we didn't have all that funky green algae and stuff last summer, is the quality of water better right now in there?
Well, what I would guess would happen this winter is because there's less of that dead algae that would fall, is I would guess and hypothesize that we'd have a much lower chance of having winter kills.
Yeah.
The oxygen content is going to be less ravaged, I would say, by some of that stuff at the bottom. That bacteria, when it eats that algae, utilizes oxygen to produce energy to do that. And so with less of that going on, especially at that lower layer, hopefully that oxygen can stay up and keep the fish alive and help with that process. But yeah, there's a lot of different implementation tactics that are utilized nowadays that I've been researching. So once we get to that stage, there's a lot of interesting things I'd like to share. But
yeah, that's really sounds interesting. And I'm sure your chart showed. Are there certain areas where there's more of the chemical runoff than others?
yeah,
Is there target areas or whatever?
well, one of the target areas, and you'll kind of see on the last page, is that so you exit Lone Tree, which is going to be native grasses, and that's where you're having our highest nitrogen and phosphorus levels.
Really?
Then you have it come down as you get to the tributary to the Harvey Dam. You have a slight elevation. That would be from our urban runoff, and then you have it decrease more. So really, and this is one of the interesting things about measuring that area in Harvey from urban runoff is if you really look at the three main areas where primarily it's going to be egg producers along there, is that actually the nutrient levels are more positive. So, I think a lot of people, for nitrogen, phosphorus, people think right away to, fertilizers from egg runoff. The data here is showing that maybe not necessarily so. It might,
That's what I thought it was.
the urban runoff might be more of a problem.
And Brooks of Farms is off the hook in this one.
That's fertilized lawns in town?
Yeah, and it's interesting to think, because especially Harvey, with its stormwater sewer system, when you have runoff off your lawn, go in those gutters and go down those drains, all that water goes somewhere and it ends up in the reservoir.
Most of it comes from Buck's house.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yes.
That's really interesting. It's a good study you're doing.
Doesn't some of that end up on the east side of town, below the dam?
Yeah, when you go out of town, what street is
The
that?
dump road.
Yeah. There's stormwater that drains that way. There's some that drains into the Centennial Park tributary as well.
So after another year of this, then you look for implementing solutions? Or?
We have to make that decision this summer so that funds are available so we can roll right over from assessment to implementation. And that's where we'll be going to the stakeholders, because whatever you decide, whatever this, not you, but whatever the stakeholders decide to do, there's a cost to it, you know, and is it, the stakeholders have to decide, do you want to invest money to restore the reservoir, or do you want to knock out the dam and let the river flow, and that'll solve the problem too, then you won't have a problem with the reservoir. You know, but if you don't fix it, it's not gonna get better. 24 was a unusual year, 25 will be interesting, you know, and as the ice thickens and less sunlight gets through to oxygenate the plant, you know, it's we won't know until, you know, if we have another good year or a bad year. We won't know that until next summer, but.
Weather dictates a lot of this.
Right, right, but the problem is pretty well established, that the reservoir is full of sediment, and you're gonna have fish kill, and you're gonna have, you know, blue-green algae. It's gonna happen most years.
Yeah.
Right.
And, that, you know,
So if you knock the dam out, and where does the sediment go?
it's just, I have no idea.
I mean, if you,
It'll be a cruddy old slough.
right, but if you knocked out,
I would think it would just sit there, and then you have to deal with
could
it.
you push it out of the way then?
I have no idea if that would be Harvey's problem, or Game and Fish, or whoever
But I
owns
mean,
that
you got
body.
someone there.
Yeah,
Well, at one point, I know there was discussion, I think from you guys too, about dredging the thing to get it back to
yeah,
normal.
and
And in
that's,
order to dredge it, you just open the dam and drain her out,
Yeah.
dredge it, fill it back
you
up.
stop the water, you know, upstream, and that, or they have dredgers that come in on
Okay.
these barge kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
In the, you know, you leave the water there and you just scoop it out, but then where do you put all that sediment too? But if, and that's very expensive. But if that's, you know, that's an option to consider too.
Leon Clocky even found a guy that does that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're,
And the cost isn't the dredging, it's like you said, it's hauling it away.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
If you could dump it on the bank,
Yeah.
it's relatively, but if
We'll
you
run
gotta
that
haul
back
it a
in.
mile,
It'll run right back in.
yeah.
right,
Probably, you know.
Haul it somewhere
See,
out of
when-
sight, I'm sure.
When Lone Tree Dam was proposed, they did that, they stopped the river.
Uh-huh.
That's still a lake right now,
Right.
and they stopped it, they made a little channel around the side.
Mhm.
That's how the river goes now, but they did have a place where they were gonna stop it totally.
Yeah, yeah, and that's been done. And, you know, it's not uncommon in Minnesota where, you know, they deal with a lot of lakes and a lot of pollution and a lot of
Yeah.
sediment. We're not familiar with that out here, but there are people who do that for a living.
You know, some good news is that, you know, there's ample cost share. You know, I know the State Water Commission does a 60-40 program, the Outdoor Heritage Fund comes to mind, the 319 program at 60-40. And you can mix and match, like the federal funds and state funds, you can, if you use in-kind matches, you know, creatively, there's a lot of creativity that goes into those grant writing, but there's ways to where, you know, we could probably leverage our resources in a way to where we could maybe not have a whole lot of a mitigated cash expense. You know, if we did our job with in-kind and utilizing other funds for matches, et cetera, you know, something maybe could be done with a mitigated cash expense.
Well, that's really
So,
good. I think everybody just agrees that that location would be great to have as a good recreation area.
Except the taxpayers in Sykeston.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, they will be contributing to it also, you know,
Right,
and in
yeah.
Bowden and Hertzville, you know, I mean, it's kind of not centrally located to
Right.
the to a lot of the taxpayers in the county, and you have to keep that in mind too.
Yep.
And everything, you know, everything that we talk about and do, that Spencer and I do, is at the direction of the Soil Conservation District Board of Supervisors. David Lout, Mick Thompson, help me out here, Eric Lees,
Mark Hagemeister.
Mark Hagemeister, and, yeah, Pam Copenaver is our two annually appointed supervisors. Mark Hagemeister, his elected term expired, and he took an annual appointment. And then when Pam Copenaver retired from the NRCS, she accepted an appointed seat on the Soil Conservation District. So we're happy to have her with us. You know, she's got a lot of expertise in this area.
Yeah, perfect.
So if you see any of those guys, you know, you might want to express your support. Let them know that you support this, because they're the ones who will make the decision ultimately.
Well, I'm sure glad you guys took the bull by the horns here, because this is a good project.
And we'll be meeting with the Water Board too, to keep them up to snuff. Any other questions on this? Soil Conservation
Thank
District
you.
E?
Well, thank you, guys.
Yep.
Deanne, would this be a time when I could ask the other question I had?
You can ask if they can't do anything with it now, but at least they'll know what you're after, yeah.
Okay, this is totally another subject, another page. I am on the Pheasant Bowden All School Reunion Committee. And some have asked about possibly using the fairgrounds for campers and RVs to park during the reunion, to plug into the electricity, use water. I checked with the fair board. It's the week before the fair, the Thursday. It would be Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, the week before the fair. And the fair board said she checked with her insurance, because that's the only real glitch is insurance. And she said it would be up to the commissioners, the county insurance, because it's not fair, anything.
Really?
So if you could just think about that, there's not many places to stay in Pheasant. We are having shuttles from Carrington and New Rockford, and I believe Harvey. We will have shuttles going back and forth for people who are lodging there. But just wanted to throw that out there.
Campground thing in Bowden too.
That's correct, yeah.
That means they can always, and
And
is it 10 or more?
Couldn't tell you for sure.
Probably 10
I think it's
campers,
10,
and they got
right.
their hookups right there.
Right, but we've got 400 and hopefully a whole lot more
Right,
than
a whole lot
400
more.
people
Yeah,
coming.
this is
So,
close.
but you know, so I thought
understand that, but-
people have asked about it, so I thought I would
yeah.
ask you.
So what did they say about, does their insurance cover it?
That would not be under the fair board's insurance. That would be under the county.
Okay.
So you guys can think about it, and I'll get back to you next month.
We'll put that on the agenda for next month.
Okay. Thank you then.
Thanks.
Yeah, I need to, that's always
Always boils down to insurance, isn't it?
probably always good. Chris,
I don't have a lot, I'm not going to take up a lot of time. Basically,
don't give extra to Brent.
Yeah, yeah, if you're quick, then, yeah, maybe that'll rub off on Brent. But go ahead.
9 pages
Gabe resigned, and his last day was the 31st of last month, so he's done.
Gabe,
Gabe.
I don't mean to interrupt. Do we need a motion to accept his resignation? Typically we do, but maybe in this case we don't. I mean, that was another agenda item, so. And, no?
Well, I think it's a good thing to do so that the public acknowledges that this has occurred.
Yeah, it'll be in the minutes then. I'll make the motion that we accept Gabe Johnson's resignation and wish him well in the future.
is there a second to that motion?
Okay.
Brian Miller, second. Any discussion on it?
Is he still working in part-time?
He was gonna, but he's not.
I'm just curious.
No,
A lot of times that happens.
he wanted to stay on, but for some reason at last minute he said, I just want to be totally done. So I was like, okay,
So he's all done right now.
all done. Got all his stuff back. We're waiting on one thing to check, some holster that he might have bought with county money that we're working with Dan's office to see if there's a receipt for it.
Perfect. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, the one other thing that I was tasked, I guess, to talk to you about is they want to make Highway 200, they want to change the name of it to the North Dakota Fallen Police Officer Memorial Highway.
I saw that in the paper, yeah.
Yeah, so I was tasked to come talk to you guys about it, to basically ask if you guys would want to write a resolution in support of it to be the North Dakota Fallen Police Officer Memorial Highway.
Yeah, so can you explain that? Is it the whole length of the state, 200?
Yes. So I don't know if you've ever been on any social media platforms, but you know the way that North Dakota is shaped. And then right in the middle is basically Highway 200.
Right.
And in some social media platforms, they have like a thin blue line going across them that represents police, fallen police officers. And so that's why when they've seen this Highway 200 that runs right through the middle of the state, it's almost like some of those pictures they've created where the blue line runs right through the middle of the state.
Yeah, the paper had a list of the fallen officers, and I personally think it's a great idea.
They can designate a mile of it to the police officers that have fallen. And so I think what they'll do is, for instance, maybe Colt Allery, the one that was fallen when I was working in Rolette County, would come straight down from Rolette County and be somewhere in Wells County along where, you know, he passed straight down. And then same with other officers, they would just kind of draw a line to see where they
Geographically where
were fallen, and then that would kind of be their mile of designated highway. So I guess there'd be no real monetary value coming from the county. It would just need all of your guys' support.
is it the state that would?
Yeah, it's gonna be a bill. It's going through the Senate and the House. They also talked about a parade would run through it during Police Week, National Police Week in May, Law Enforcement Week. So.
Can you say North Dakota Fallen Police Officers?
North Dakota Fallen Police Officer Memorial Highway.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion that we go on board as supporting a resolution to change the Highway 200 name change to that.
To that. Is there a second?
I'll second
Boone second. Stan made the motion, Boone second. Discussion on it. Do we need to draft something up on that, Chris? Or just...
Okay, so I was supposed to get like some templates on this to present to you guys, but I never got them yet.
Okay.
So as soon as I do, I'll email them to Dan and
Yeah.
have him get them out to you guys.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Any other discussion on it? Will there, I guess, you said like the guy from up there will be on this portion of the highway. Is there gonna be like a picture, a sign, or?
So it'd be his name basically, and it'd be like when you would adopt a highway when you're driving
Yeah.
down the road, and this highway's adopted for this section of the road. It'd kind of be like that, but instead it would say this mile of highway is dedicated to fallen officer Colt Allery.
Well, and it hasn't passed yet, so we can encourage all of you to email your, the three legislators and
Right.
support it. And it's in the minutes that we're supporting it, so
Yeah.
I think that's the two things we should do at this
That's a
point.
big thing, yeah. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have.
No, that's good.
it. I got a couple, is Ward still working?
Yes,
And are you gonna hire another deputy now that Gabe left?
I'm looking. I put an ad out.
Just wondering.
Yep. Ad is out. I haven't put it in the paper, the Harvey paper yet. It just happened. I put it in what we call SLIC. It's where licensed law enforcement can look at all the job opportunities that are in the state. And like I told you guys before, there's like 12 pages of them. So it's a long list, the longest list I've ever seen.
So you got these cars outfitted, are the license plate readers, are they very helpful to you guys?
No, actually, we're getting them taken off.
Okay.
And Stone Garden's paying for it. They're going to take them off. They're hard to set up. That's a wicked process. You can get them on there and put them on the cars, and they will run plates right now. But you got to get them with the technology to run the plate as you drive by in the federal system, and it's a lot more complicated than you know.
I was just curious.
I'm just trying to explain
Right,
it to
right.
you.
I'm
So
just curious.
it's not functioning how I would have liked it to function.
Right.
You like a name in 1 minute and it's
I would like it
taking
to,
an hour.
as soon as you drive by, oh, that's a stolen car, I can turn around and go chase it. That's
An hour later doesn't help, does it?
Yeah, no.
Don't happen that fast.
Right.
He's in Wisconsin by then.
Yeah.
'Cause I seen the other day was at the intersection there, I seen you go by with lights on, there was a truck in front of you and there was enough snow fog. If you were trying to get by him or if you were trying to stop him, he couldn't see your lights.
Yeah,
anyway.
he was actually, his trailer was hitting the ditch when he was taking the curb off the road, the asphalt. That's why I was trying to stop him, because I didn't know if he knew how to drive the semi.
Some guys don't.
I saw that go, I wonder if he can even see you, you know? Because the snow fog is always a problem. Which
So
is
the
interesting.
car you were gonna take to Minnesota, did you get that all done?
It's not, they haven't come back to me. I don't know what I should do. I need to call the boss, because I'm working with a guy I never worked with. The boss, I'd have it done by now. I probably should call the boss.
Do that or look at other options, I would say.
Yeah.
Get something done so it's usable.
Absolutely.
They had to work over one vehicle pretty good down here at Kreider's.
The oldest Tahoe was about to probably fall apart, and I wanted to trade it to Guardian because they take these cars, like I was telling you guys last time, and they sell them to other places. So it has to work in order to do that. So they could have did a lot more, but they did enough to keep it on the road.
That's the one that's getting traded, or
Yes.
hopefully.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care.
Are you Michael?
I'm his brother.
You wanna speak?
Oh, no, I'm just here.
You're waiting for him.
Yeah,
Oh, he's not here yet.
Okay.
is that he's next? I can get him coming here.
Nice.
Well, we'll
No,
do Brent,
no,
so it'll take
yeah.
a while. Brent.
Is he on the way?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He was scheduled for
He was
10:15.
scheduled till 10:15,
Yeah,
so.
we're running ahead here.
Or you can, not to tell you what to do, but we can do some of that bottom stuff. Or do Brent.
Well, let's do Brent, and then we can do that one.
Morning, guys. What time is Dave Richter coming in? 10 or 10? Or Billadu Township?
Sure. They're coming in after 11 according to this.
Or after 11, okay. All right, well, Huey will be in to talk to Dan here with probably this month. He is done at the end of March. He is going to retire at the end of March. He was going to retire last fall. He stuck around through the winter, and he will be retired at the end of March. Whatever the last working day in March is, will be Huey's last day at the county. He is very interested in taking care of the fairgrounds this summer. We had some issues with the bathroom at the state shed. We lease, I went through the lease with Renee last week. We got problems with the bathroom out there. In the summer, we probably, nobody's out there. We probably go through 80 gallons of water a month. As the state guy started working out there, the toilet's being used more. And we noticed that in December that we went through 6,000 gallons of water through the meter. So we went out and we put some new guts in the toilet, new flapper, things like that, thought the toilet was running. Went through 21,000 gallons in January coming through the meter. Went out there and the toilet itself was cracked. The sink in the bathroom was cracked. These things have been in that bathroom since the building was built 40 some years ago, 50 years ago. The bathroom is about the size of two refrigerators beside each other. So we got a hold of TJ. TJ was there the next day, and the water, to shut the valves off, to shut the water off to the meter were all broke. You couldn't shut the water off. We had to shut the water off inside the fairgrounds just to, so we put new valves in underneath the water meter so we can shut the water off to the building. Put a new TJ